Just as a reminder, we will be recording this session of our Women in STEM Executive Career Panel. We're so happy to have you all here. Welcome. Welcome panelists, welcome our moderator, students, and mentors. We are so glad to have you here all today for this session, Women in STEM, of our Women's Future Leadership Academy Junior Achievement. If we could go to the next slide, please. All right, just a few housekeeping items. I'm Christy Biedron, Director of Education at Junior Achievement. This is our agenda. After our welcomes, we will introduce our student moderator, who will introduce our panel. Then we will have Q&A sessions around 2:30. And then after that, we will have our breakout sessions. So at the end of the panel, when we finish the Q&A, we will post another link that will take you to the breakout sessions. And this is where we will have some very nice conversations with our mentors. And then at 3 o'clock, the session concludes. So on behalf of all of us at Junior Achievement, we would like to thank our event sponsors, especially our sponsor, L'Oreal, for all your hard work to put this session together. We have some fantastic panelists and mentors from L'Oreal. So students, you will really enjoy this session, hearing from some of their leaders, and the 2:30 breakout sessions, where you'll get a chance to have conversations with some of our mentors from L'Oreal, learn a little bit more about what they do as you join a collaborative problem-solving activity. So on that note, I would like to introduce our student moderator. Please welcome Oriana Nelson, a former Junior Achievement High School hero and current Princeton University student. Thank you so much, Oriana.
I'm glad to be here. As Christy mentioned, my name is Oriana, and I'm currently a student at Princeton University School of Engineering and Applied Science. As much as I love STEM, and mentorship and community development are very important to me as well. This is why I'm so excited to be here with you today, moderating another session of J&J's Women's Future Leadership Academy. We are happy to have a fantastic group of successful leaders from L'Oreal joining us for today's STEM career panel. We're going to start by asking each panelist to briefly introduce yourself, where you went to school, your degree, and your position at L'Oreal currently. We can go in the following order, starting with Anna, Elise, Maya, and then Sammy. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Hernandez. I'm glad to be here with you guys this afternoon. So I went to the University of Illinois at Chicago, originally from Chicago. My degree and background is in chemical engineering. Currently here at L'Oreal, I am the packaging supervisor for all of our powders, mascaras, and our powders at the Cosmetics Center of Excellence here at North Little Rock. And I moved here about 2.5 years ago to North Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Elise. I went to Lafayette College and graduated in 2015, background in chemical engineering as well, just like Anna. I've been at L'Oreal for just about 4.5 years, and I actually started in our compatibility lab. I was there for about 2 years doing some testing on our packaging and new formulas for our new launches. And right now I am the project manager for all of Garnier Hair Care, all new product launches. And I've been doing that for about 2 years.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maya. I went to Ohio State and studied biology and chemical engineering. I started working for L'Oreal full-time after graduating. Initially, I worked in our manufacturing plant in Florence, Kentucky, doing various roles there within manufacturing before transitioning over to the East Coast to work in supply chain. Currently, I'm senior manager for brand supply management, and I manage the supply of products for Maybelline, Garnier, and Essie businesses.
Sammy?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I was struggling a little bit with the mute button. It seems like there's a theme. So my name is Sammy Sparks, and I am also a chemical engineer by study. I graduated from Cornell quite some time ago. I've been with L'Oreal for my whole career. for 18 years now, and currently I am responsible for our Lux fulfillment operations, which includes the physical distribution of our goods in the US and internationally for some of our international brands.
Thank you all for those great introductions. We can now move on to the panel's question section, with the first question being, what advice would you give to the students joining us today who are interested in a career in STEM, a field where women are typically underrepresented? We can go in the same order for simplicity. So Anna, would you like to start us off?
Yes, will do. So the advice I would give would be something I wish someone would have gave me when I was looking for a career in STEM is to not be afraid to challenge yourself and to be able to be ready to problem solve. Those are two big things that I think are needed as anyone finding a career in STEM. But then on top of that, nowadays there's a lot of programs for STEM that we could take advantage of. And those are things that I know when I was going through high school and into college, those are not programs that were out there. So that is probably the biggest thing. Take advantage of that, ask questions, and don't be afraid. I think the worst answer you can get is no, and then you just move on to someone else to find a different response.
Okay, great. I think mine similar to Anna in the sense of, I would say that one of the biggest things you can do, especially I remember during my high school years, was starting to understand where the opportunities are to learn more about what STEM opportunities there are. I was in a science research program in high school. There was just a small group of us who did it, but it really opened my eyes to like what the opportunities were. And, you know, there was only a few students who did it. So even besides that, women are not necessarily the majority of who's in STEM. I was not in the majority of people who did science research. So, you know, it's really following what you find interesting. And then one major thing I would say is really be open to opportunities. I loved science and I loved math when I was in high school, but I wasn't really too familiar with what engineering was and, you know, what the opportunities were. And when I went to visit colleges and understand like kind of what my career paths could be, it really opened my eyes to see what experiences were out there. And I don't think if I had asked the right questions and asked a lot of people's opinions, I would have fully understand all the things I could have done with a chemical engineering degree. And I definitely owe my career path so far to the degree I got and really believing that it was going to lead me here. So I would just say to be open to all different opportunities within the STEM fields because it can get you pretty far.
I would echo a lot of what Elise spoke to. I think it's just really important to pursue your interests and continue to be curious. So don't be scared to go after something just because it's new or different or you're not familiar with it. If you have an interest, it's worth pursuing and it's worth seeing if it's something that you want to study or if it's something that you'd be interested in pursuing a career later. And I know when I was younger, I had no idea how expansive all the different opportunities are within STEM. And the more I explored and the more I learned, the more I realized how many different options you can study and work within the STEM field. So I think it's important to just always follow where your passion lies. And by doing that, you're going to find yourself in a rewarding career that you're interested in. And even though women have traditionally been underrepresented in this field, there's more and more women every single day within STEM, and they have experiences and knowledge coming out of that can be really useful. I know when I was trying to navigate my education and my career early on, I really reached out to those leaders just to hear their experience and their career path, and it really helped open my eyes to all the different options and how to pursue the interests I had. So just go into it with an open mind and don't be afraid to follow where your interest lies.
Okay. It'll be very hard to follow everybody. I've realized I'm in the wrong order. But yes, I would echo what everybody said. Of course, you have to be, confident and fearless and curious. You need all of these. I think this is great advice. The only thing I would probably want to add is, you have to find the right community to help support you along the way. And it can look like, a lot of different things. You could find a mentor, and it looks like this community is like the perfect place to do that. Or you could find a teacher who will help you. Or, get to college and you join clubs and organizations. You'll find your tribe that will help you kind of acclimate to this world. And there's so many support groups for that. So I think, having the right support can help you continue to be fearless in a field where there's still not as many women as we'd want to see in some of these STEM industries. So having that support, whether it's inside of where you work, inside of where you go to school, what you're studying, or at home, that's probably the main piece of advice I would add to this.
Great. Thank you all for this great advice, especially, talking about being fearless and advocating for yourself. As someone who's a young person in the STEM field, I'm noticing that now. So please take their advice and run with it. It's really important, especially about finding a community that's really important to you. So really thank you for that. Going on to the second question, which is, what do you think are the most important skills for a person to have in order to be successful in STEM? You can also go in the same order for simplicity. So Anna?
For me, I think two very important skills to have are to be able to work in a team. So teamwork is very important, and continue to learn. When I started my career here as an operations engineer, there was not one project that I did not have to work in a team together to get that done. A group is smarter than just one person together and can get a lot more done from that end. So really just take that on, and you will learn as you go. So don't be afraid to just never stop learning from that. And those are two things from that end.
Yeah, I completely agree that, having the ability to work in a team and being open to that is huge, especially I've been noticing that in my job the past 2 years. It's definitely very key to be open to communicating with people from all different backgrounds, from all different skill levels. But it, like Anna just said, it's helpful, and it's going to be what makes you grow and learn more. The other thing I would say is really important, and probably not as I would say traditional of an answer for something in STEM, is to be able to have a creative mindset, because a lot of science is black and white, or math is black and white, but when you get into the real world and you see what life experiences come to you when you're working, you realize that sometimes the problems at hand are much bigger than just something that's cut and dry for you to be able to solve. So being able to really see the full picture, taking a step back and using your team and other resources to help you come up with creative solutions, because there's always going to be multiple ways to fix something. But especially in STEM, one of the most important things is what's the most efficient way to do it, and how do we get there fastest, and how in the best way possible. So I think the more that you're open to, and it comes with experience, right? So when I started my job, I didn't have probably the same kind of skill set I do now, but it comes with experience and really knowing who to ask, who to bounce ideas off of, and being able to see the full picture will really help you be able to more efficiently solve problems as you go along in your career.
For me, I think one of the most important skills you can have is communication. You can be the expert in your field, but if you're unable to communicate that to others within your field, and more importantly, others outside of your area of expertise, it's going to be very challenging to collaborate and work with others and work as a team. So I think it's very important as you're learning and studying and developing knowledge to make sure that you're able to communicate that with others, because that's what you're going to need in order to solve the bigger problems that require the teamwork. So I think having that softer skill of communication is really key to be successful. And second to that, I would say being flexible and open-minded. Things change all the time, especially as you're dealing with complex problems. So being flexible to adjust as things are changing, and being open-minded to other people's ideas is key, because really to be successful, in any field where it's a very analytical problem-solving role, you need to be able to be open-minded to what other people bring to the table who may have a different skill set and knowledge than you do.
And I think it's all along the same lines of like communication and teamwork. You want to be somebody who can be really collaborative. So it's like a nuanced kind of communication. You know, it's not just going to be about your ideas, but about how you can bring all the best of everyone's ideas together, and also be able to challenge people in an effective way. You know, you're not always going to have the right answer. Not everybody in the group will either, because you'll more often than not work in group settings. So how do you have the right kind of, you know, conflict and conflict resolution and sort of consensus around the different kinds of ideas that will come together when you're working on these kinds of big team-based projects. And I think just like in general, you know, you'll have to be relentless. I think you have to have a relentless spirit if you're going to be somebody who works in STEM, because that's what you're doing, solving problems. So, you know, you're going to want to keep searching until you get to that answer. So, but I think, you know, everything everyone said so far has, you know, is exactly the kind of skill set you want to have in your toolbox. So.
Great, thank you so much for that. Especially so before, as a student in STEM, seeing now the amount of work that I'm getting, it's challenging. STEM is challenging, so it's important to reach out to people, find a group you can work with and collaborate together. And so not only will that help you currently in situation, but in your future when you have to work on projects. So thank you so much for elaborating on that. I want to also make a quick reminder that the chat box is available because we are going to get to our Q&A very soon. So going off that once again, we're coming in with our last and final question of the panel discussion, which is, we all know that success is never easy. Describe a challenge you encountered in your career and how you overcame it. What lessons did you learn? And once again, we can start off with Anna.
Yes, so I think one of the examples I can use is what I currently have at my position right now. It's we have a bunch of new lines coming in, transfers, and projects should be pretty simple, but as we know, challenges always arise. So it goes back to the other two questions that we just came from, and what I learned is throughout all this team building and challenges, really had to reach out to other support departments to get their inputs and use everyone's creativity to kind of come up with a solution that meets the business goals, but also lets us move product through in a safe and quality manner. So that's the biggest lesson I've learned, is you have to leverage everyone's skill set. And it was actually working from all the way from our directors to my team on the floor, and actually my operations team was the one that came up with a pretty creative solution to get something, a product out the market pretty quickly. So as we know, things come and go, but you just got to learn from those challenges, and even though, don't take it as a failure, take it as another opportunity to learn from that aspect.
So for me, I would say I am, like I said earlier, product development right now. So basically any new launches, managing, you know, everything from the timeline to executing and making sure our products get to shelf. So I kind of get to see every single piece of the launch process without actually owning any part of it, which is definitely a challenge in itself. But I would say, similar to what Anna just said, in the sense of like being able to have everyone from a team work together on a problem. What I've been seeing come up a few times lately for some of my projects is just making sure we have everything available for being able to produce, which sounds pretty simple, but it's really not always that easy. You know, there's a lot of challenges to overcome in terms of making sure everything is done in time, making sure, you know, we work for a marketing company, making sure that the marketing conception is what we're able to execute. So to be able to do all those things, you know, sometimes you have to sacrifice one piece to be able to really get to the final product that we want. And I think in every single one of my launches, there's always something that comes up, no matter what. We can never predict everything that's going to happen. And I think being a project manager has really helped me kind of see everything that can happen. And also really, one of the things I've appreciated most about this job, I think in general, is seeing everyone work together to solve the problems. Every single time something comes up, it's something different, and it's with a different group of the team that needs to help solve it. And we always manage to make it work. And I think it's really taught me a lot about relying on, the teams to be able to come up with those creative solutions, like I had mentioned earlier, even, and really work together and try and determine, how can we make this happen in the best way possible. So I think the biggest lesson I would take out of like any of these things that ever come up is trying to, solve something on your own is never really going to be the best way to do it. And it's really to communicate and ask other people to help support you, because it will only make you stronger to ask those questions instead of, trying to do anything by yourself.
One of my biggest challenges so far in my career has actually been a personal challenge with just career development. I started my career working at a manufacturing plant, and after I was there a few years, I realized that I was ready for something new, and I found myself more and more curious about the upstream business and understanding what was driving the decisions and the actions that we were making at the manufacturing plant. So after really having lots of discussions with different coworkers and learning about other opportunities within the business, I decided to take on a role outside of the manufacturing plant and make the move into supply chain. And that has been a great pivotal transformation for my learning. And coming out of that move, I really realized two things. One, that even as you progress however many years through your career, it's very important to continue to be curious and to continue to drive your own learning and to pursue where your interests are. As I found myself more and more curious about other aspects of the business, I really was able to grow and develop more because I decided to pursue those interests. And secondly, that it's very important to always advocate for yourself, to go after where your interests are, and follow that curiosity, and to really drive your career, drive your interests. You'll start doing that in your studies in college as you pick your major and as you decide what classes you want to take, and that type of development continues on in your career. And it's important just to continue to follow your curiosity in that aspect.
I think in terms of just challenges, I've been working a long time now. I had to think about which challenge I want to talk about. But I do think about maybe some of the first challenges I faced in leading a team, and kind of stepping into like a bigger scope. Typically when I was first working in the plants, it's really easy to benchmark in the plants because, you have a lot of production areas that are similar across multiple sites and around the world. So it's very competitive, which, I'm sure many of you have that competitive feeling. You want to be the best, you want to have the best results. But a key lesson that I definitely learned early on, and I'm happy I learned it because it's helped me become a better leader and a better decision maker, is that you can be a great performer and your team can be great, but if you don't have the same goals as everyone else, you're really not a high performing team. When you're very siloed in your objectives, it doesn't help the overall objectives of like the larger team setting that you're in. And that was a hard lesson to learn because, it means sometimes I might make sacrifices that impact my own results, but it's better for all of the team results because it helps the plant results, but I'm glad that I learned this lesson earlier on when I worked in the plants because like I said, I think it helps me make better decisions going forward. I think broader. I think about more than just like my area, and it's less selfish, and it's more about I can give up this, but I will gain so much more in the bigger scheme of things. So I know it's a little bit kind of high level and out there, but it's definitely like part of being a part of a team, and making the right decisions for the group. And sometimes sacrificing a little bit, even though you could be like the best in everything in your area, it could just be at a cost somewhere else. So
Great. Thank you all so much for your responses. It's so important to learn from your mistakes and learn as you grow older, especially as Anna pointed out, you can't just take a failure and want to quit. Take that, use it to motivate you to do better. So I want to appreciate all your responses, and I'm really thankful. Going off of that, we do have to head into the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, I see 2 already in the chat, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
Yeah, and we can start with the first question in the chat from Tamana. She actually had 2 questions, and I'll put them into one. It's an excellent question. Thank you so much, Tamana. And it's, I think, one that a lot of our students are thinking about. How do you know that the career you have now was the career you wanted to have back then? So when you were in high school, like, how did you know that this is what you wanted to do? And did you ever have any doubts? So great couple of questions from Tamana. So would anybody like to go ahead and tackle that? We can go in any order. If anyone would like to answer. Oh, Sammy, we'll let you go first this time.
Yes, okay.
There you go.
I would definitely say when I was in high school, and even while I was in college studying chemical engineering, I never thought I would have the career I have now. I thought that I was going to graduate and be a chemical engineer. And at the time it was, you would go into chemical industries. And I happened to get an interview at L'Oreal. And what I really liked was that rather than just putting myself in this box of being a chemical engineer, I was asked to develop into a leader and really do what my engineering degree taught me, which was to become a problem solver. So I would definitely say that it was nowhere in my thoughts when I was 18 to 22. And even when I was 25, I feel like I might still say, hey, I still don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up at work. So I've been definitely able to kind of flex and really see all different kinds of aspects and use my degree and use all the skills that I learned in college, in high school, and in even my love of science and math and engineering. I'm able to apply it, all those same skill sets, despite not being in a really traditional engineering heavy role.
Thank you, Sammy. Would anybody else like to answer that question?
Yeah, I'll echo that. I never knew what I wanted to do. In high school, I was very interested in chemistry and math, but going into college, I felt like I had too many interests. I was overwhelmed by how many majors there were. I started undergrad as undecided, and it wasn't until the end of my second year when we had to declare a major that I ended up declaring biology and chemical engineering, because again, I couldn't pick just one. I ended up double majoring. But the great thing about an educational background in STEM is that, with my majors in engineering and science, they're both still broad enough to have so many different opportunities coming out of school. So I felt that by studying engineering, I was really building the skill set to problem solve, to think analytically, to work with a team, that there were still so many different opportunities once I was looking for a full-time job. And starting with L'Oreal, a huge company, with so many different areas that you can apply your skill set. Even now, I feel like I would have never known that I was, going to do this job 5 or 10 years ago. And I feel the same about the future of my career as well. There's just so much you can do with a background in STEM that you don't necessarily need to know exactly what that looks like, but by pursuing that career path, you'll have many different opportunities that you can continue to progress and develop your skills.
Excellent, Maya, thank you. And we have about 2 more minutes left before we move into a breakout session. So Anna or Elise, would either of you like to, this is a great question. Would either of you like to answer this question?
Yeah, I would say something. I think I have an interesting experience to share. I actually, I was an intern at L'Oreal. So I was in college. I got a great internship. I loved every minute of it. But I actually worked somewhere else, my first job out of college, not L'Oreal. And I did a consulting role, thought it was going to be more something I was very interested in using my engineering background. And I got there and was like, this is not for me. So what I would say is the same echoing, I never knew what I wanted to do, but I also think that there's so many opportunities with an engineering degree in general that it showed me that I didn't have to be like doing exactly what I was doing at that moment. The second I came back to L'Oreal, I started to realize really where my passions lied. But I think what's important there is to be really true to yourself. And, you know, I realized that that first job wasn't for me, but because I had an experience at L'Oreal and I had met people that really helped like drive my career, I was able to have conversations early on to get me back into a path that I really see myself doing well at. So.
Elise, thank you so much. Anna, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think these ladies said it best. I know for me, when I was in high school, I knew I was good at chemistry and math, and going into chemical engineering seemed like a fair option, but I actually tried to pursue civil engineering before, then I switched over, but none of those are like chemistry, or, you know, you just need to be good at math. So I would say you have to be open to the possibilities. What my professor always used to say is it teaches you to problem solve and work in a team. There's not one project I can think of in undergrad that you do not have to work in a team to figure out. They gave you problems that are hard and challenging, so you have to think outside the box. So just like that, you got to make sure that you keep your options open for any career path down the line. Just make sure you pursue. If you don't know a passion yet, just pursue your interests, and then from there on, you can always branch out.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Our panelists, Anna, Elise, Maya, and Sammy, we really appreciate your words of wisdom and your thoughts. And of course, Oriana, our fabulous, fabulous moderator, we thank you again for joining us and giving us the student perspective. We really, really appreciate it. Panelists, thank you so much. I think we've all learned from today. We really appreciate your time and your talents with us.